music. He's like love, 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 and music. La la la, love, 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 and music. Love, love.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. This is my review for Iyanla. This is the Mitchell Brothers Part 2. Yes, it came on yesterday. Yes, it's late. Well, not late because it's only Sunday. But yeah, I was just chilling out. As y'all see, hair is wet. So yeah, and it was like warm today in Michigan. It was like almost 60 degrees today. So I'm like, oh my God, please let spring come. Please let spring come. So y'all might hear my fan blowing a little bit, because I do have my fan on, but y'all might not hear it because the microphone, it cancels everything else out. But let's get into this review. Y'all know hair is just aggravating, but I had to let it air dry. So this episode of Iyanla, I think you get to see more of each brother's issue or trigger, really, because it was really weird seeing Marcus and Melvin and their interactions with each other and everything, because we see the brothers. This episode starts off and they're like in the room talking. The next morning, Iyanla's downstairs fixing them breakfast. I'm like, okay, she cooking up some bacon and some eggs and stuff to have them eat like a family. Okay, I get that. And they were up there talking just mainly about how they sometimes don't think, how sometimes they react, how they need to control their anger. And they were discussing the day before when Melvin and Marcus was kind of going back and forth a little bit, and Melvin was able to say, yeah, when I stood up and I did this, you know what I'm saying, I wasn't thinking. Usually I think before I act, and that particular time I wasn't. And they were having a moment, and first it was as if they was joking around and stuff. We see Marcus, I can't wait to put this up. We see Marcus like playfully like pushing him or whatever on the bed. It was very, very, very playful or whatever. And then it got serious out the blue, simply because, you know, Marcus was trying to tell Melvin, well, you can't tell me how I feel. And Melvin said, well, the same thing. I think they both don't be listening to each other, and they both basically feel the same way, but different, if that even makes any kind of sense. And I'm like, just a minute ago, y'all was smiling and laughing and stuff, and now Marcus is like, don't touch me, don't touch me. And then Melvin is like, you know, well, get out my face, you know, get out my personal space. I'm like, what the hell happened in these past 15-20 seconds? Like, I'm like, it was crazy. Because then, you know, the brothers having to separate them. You do see Marcus, oh, you old bitch. And he like, see, now he bitching me out. Now he bitching me out. Meaning, now you calling me out my name, you calling me a bitch. I mean, but you called me a bitch yesterday, but, you know, we ain't talking about that. And when they're going back and forth, of course, they're yelling and stuff. They're having to be separated. You see Melvin not backing down. Like, you know, I don't care even if I can't whip you. I ain't going back down. And you see the anger in Marcus. Marcus is a very angry person. And I don't think he's angry as in he's crazy. I think he's angry because he's misunderstood, and all he knows is anger. That's probably all he was taught when he was younger. And, you know, I do feel like in this aspect Marcus was more wrong than Melvin, simply because it seemed like Marcus got more angry than Melvin did, kind of for no reason, and he wanted to fight. And I'm like, you can't always go to the fighting thing. And as they going back and forth, Melvin spoke some real truth. He says, you know, you so mad at your daddy, but you just like him. Meaning, you doing things to get yourself out your own kid's life. Like, you a grown ass man with 4 kids. You know, look how you acting. It ain't always about fighting. And it's not. And then that's your brother. And, honey, Iyanla came upstairs like, what the hell is going on? They bitches and faggots and faggots, and they just, you know, shooting insults back and forth. And what I like was Iyanla came in like a mother would. When you hear your kids upstairs fighting, they're being, shut your mouth. And I think the reason some people are like, I can't believe how she's talking to them. She talked to them how they needed to be talked to, because they still act like little kids. And she was talking to them in the aspect of, shut up talking, because you are calling your brothers bitches and faggots, and that's not cool. So when she heard Melvin saying it, she told Melvin to shut up. When she was trying to get Marcus out the room, and I think because she recognized that Marcus is the more volatile, violent brother, you know, it's called a spade, and that if he wanted to, he probably would fight. And she ain't trying to have them fight, because when you have someone fight, sometimes it's hard to get them to forgive within that realm of argument. And it was funny when she kept, shut your mouth. But that's how a parent talks to their children. And sometimes that's how you have to talk to people who don't realize y'all acting like children. Y'all here to get help, but y'all acting like kids. But in hindsight, they are like kids, because they are stuck in the issues and the turmoil that they had as children. Even though they all in their third. Well, the youngest two was 28 and 29. But yeah. But when you look at Marcus looks like, cause it was, Iyanla was talking to him in another room, and Marcus looked like he wants to kill someone. He looks like he is on the rampage, and he just so angry, and he has all these emotions. He don't know what to do with it. I just want to murder someone. I just want to fight someone. He just wants to react. And that ain't the way to do it, especially not with your brother. And, you know, we see Melvin saying, because Melvin was angry, because we see Iyanla talk to Melvin as well, and Melvin is saying that he just, you know, he isn't angry. I think he wants to be heard. She was saying that she thinks he wants to be right. I don't think it's about him wanting to be right. I think it's just him wanting to be heard and not to kind of be pushed off to the side as if he don't know what he's talking about. I think that's more of his thing. He's like, okay, I'm saying something and you gonna hear me. Whether I'm right, wrong, or indifferent, you're going to hear me. And that's what he kind of does. But as far as Marcus, he just angry. He's very, very angry. And, you know, Melvin does admit that when he was in foster care, you know, going from house to house to house or whatever, they would call him faggot and say how he wanted to sleep with men, and even at 10 years old, and just putting things in his head as if he's 10 years old, how did he even know about wanting to sleep with a man? And he says, so sometimes when he hear the word faggot, he didn't like it. And that's one of his triggers. And we then see the other brothers talking. You know, Mikhail is bringing up great points as well. And Mikhail is the brother who called the show. And he says how, you know, Marcus always wants to fight, and he don't care about any dumb outcome that comes from it. Meaning, if something happened, I want to fight. I want to have some kind of physical altercation. And if someone dies, if someone gets hurt, if someone goes to jail, I don't care. I don't care. And I like how Melvin said, I can't be that way because I have a family. I feel like my camera is sideways, so let's get that together, people. He was saying how he can't think that way because he has a family. And the crazy part about it is, so does Marcus. And Marcus just doesn't care. And that's one of their points, that he doesn't care. And he's like, you know, he just wants to consistently do dumb shit, and he don't care about the outcome of it. He said how he brought up, he said y'all see how Marcus get upset because I'm at home chilling, but I can't be out in the streets because I have people who depend on me. He said, you know, when the brother who died, you know, when he died, I wanted to go and, you know, kill the whole world, because of course that's how you feel when your sibling dies. So his thing was, I had those same feelings, and I expressed those feelings to the people in my life, which means his girl and his kids or whatever. And he said it was when he was saying like, you know, that's my brother, you know, I can't let that ride. And they were like, calm down, we need you. And sometimes that's all it takes for a person to realize, I'm hurt and I'm pissed and I want to wreck shit. But me wrecking shit is gonna wreck other people's lives who I love. So if I go and not retaliate for someone who killed my brother, and then I get killed in the process, I go to jail in the process, or if something happens, or if someone come back and try to get back at me, they could mistakenly kill my child, my girl, my, you know, whoever. So it was a cool thing to see how how Mikhail understands that it ain't always about get back. It ain't always about wanting to react to your anger. You can't do that sometimes, especially when you're a grown-ass man who got people depending on you. And I'm like, Marcus got 4 kids, 4 sons. And for him to consistently just not care is crazy. Because it's like, how is his kids going to react later in life? Because we don't know how old his kids are. If they hear or see him on TV, like, well, damn, daddy didn't even care if he lived or died. which in hindsight means, does he care about us? Let that stew for a little minute. So what I like is, she was able to get both Marcus and Melvin calm enough to come downstairs, and they're having a conversation, and they had an apology to each other. I like how she had them face each other, because sometimes you don't want someone to apologize if they can't even look at you. And Marcus said, no, Melvin says how he's sorry for disrespecting his brother, because he did call him a bitch the day before. He called him a boy and girl, whatever. And with them yelling and fussing, he said some crazy things too. He says he's sorry for not listening to him, meaning he get that sometimes Marcus is talking and he ain't even listening, because he waiting for his time to be heard. And when Marcus says his do, I love how Marcus said, "I don't understand you yet." Because we have to remember, they weren't raised as siblings. So Marcus don't know Melvin's trigger points. Melvin don't know Marcus's trigger points. They weren't raised together. They're siblings and they know each other, but they don't really know each other. Like, I know what can set my sister off and my brother off. I know it for a fact because we were raised together. And even though my brother lives out of town, he lives in Illinois, I still know my brother. They don't know each other, and they lived in the same state. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't raised together. So it was very poignant to see Marcus admit, I don't even really know you yet, and I'm trying to get to know you, to understand you. And he also said how, something that you said rang true to me. It was factual for me, but hearing it from you, I didn't know how to receive it. So all I could do was get mad. And they, hugged and embraced. I thought that was really, and people say, oh, Iyanla don't work. She just thinks she don't. For her to be able to get the men to articulate that to each other was amazing. It really was. But my thing is, Melvin might not have never known that his brother literally does not understand him. Because not understanding someone means, I know who you are, but I don't know how you work. I don't know what makes you tick. I don't know you. I love you, but I don't know you like that. You know what I'm saying? So it could have been a thing just for him to hear that. Okay, so when he talking to me, I'm taking it offensive, as if he know me and how I be, and he shouldn't do that. He doesn't understand me enough to know you can't say that to me, or I don't like that, because he don't. I'm like, that was really really cool. So they were all sitting around eating or whatever, and they were just talking, a lot of talking. One thing that stood out to me was when it was one of the two youngest, I think it was Melvin, when he said to Marcus, because Marcus is on this whole tip of he don't care what happens to him, he gonna do whatever. And he said to him, if something happens to you, that just brings us more pain. That fucks up this dynamic of us as brothers that we've built now. We've already lost one brother to death. One brother's in prison. You know what I'm saying? If something happened to you, it would be devastating to us. And I think Marcus needs to understand they want him around, and if he leaves, they would be hurt. And I think sometimes he don't get how much they need him, because he feels he failed them as a brother. So I think his thing is, I failed them as a brother. So in order for me to fix that, I have to do whatever I need to do, even if it means me dying for them. And he doesn't get, that's the worst thing they want to happen to you. They don't want you dead. You know what I'm saying? If you don't do not another thing for them in life, you can't die for them. Like, don't do that. And, we even see Melvin having kind of a breakdown moment, because she kept asking what he wanted. And he was saying different things. I want love, and I want family and marriage and children and the car. He was saying all these things. And she like, no, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? He finally broke through and said, I want to be accepted. And I think that can be something on many levels, whether it's be him as a gay man, as a black man, as a misunderstood child, as a child who was molested as when he was younger. It can mean many different things, but he just wants to be accepted as him. And I think sometimes being gay can mean that you just automatically don't feel accepted. And then even being gay and being estranged from your family, you might feel that you're not fully accepted. And so for him, he just wants to be, and I'm like, that was cool, because I think they all in their own way want to be accepted, but who knows what demons he's dealing with in his brain that he thinks that they don't accept him. So I thought that was really cool. Then we see the father. okay, they bring the father in, and Michael Sr. come in, and she had them playing like something she called breakthrough bingo, meaning she pulls out balls and it has different things on them, different words on them, and you see, okay, who all has this? Like, I put out a 5. Who I got a 5? I got a 5. I got a 5. I got a 5. Okay, I pulled out jealousy. Who jealous? I pulled out line. Who do that? Just think, who feel abandoned? Who feel just I can't think of the words she said it, but the first thing that came up was, I think it was abandonment. We see Michael Sr. saying for him it's also awkward because he doesn't know his children, because he wasn't around his children. He did not raise his children, so they don't communicate much. So his thing is, I don't know my own children, and that's crazy for me. And so when they all admit that they all feel abandoned in one way or another, it's kind of crazy. We then see Michael Jr., the one who is mentally challenged in some way that we still don't even understand. He says that for him, he at times feels like the black sheep, and he feels overlooked. If you watch the first 2 episodes, you do see he's pretty quiet, and you do see each other brother has their own dynamic that kind of overpowers the room, and he just kind of sits there. And while Mikhail is reacting to Marcus, and Marcus is responding to Mel, or just they're all interacting, that no one is really paying attention to Michael Jr. And he's just kind of sitting there. And it isn't until someone addresses him to answer a question or to say whatever. And it was more talking to him about the other brother who died. But no one's really talking to him. So it was a thing to see that he may be mentally challenged, but in his head, he still recognizes and he realizes he is overlooked. And he's the older brother. And, he admits that he doesn't even know what his mental challenges are fully. He says how no one has really talked to him about it, and I'm like, for him to be 30, he's in his 30s, and he isn't even aware of what his mental capability challenges. Okay, we're gonna say that word. Is sad. Because he's been in the system his whole life, and it means no one has for him to not know what issues he has, it means that his issues probably were never really addressed. He was probably written off as a crack baby, and that was really it. And it could have been more than that. It could have been something that could have been worked on when he was younger. And he is really like a kid just kind of fending for himself, and that's really crazy. And I like how Iyanla brought up that y'all forget y'all always had someone else, because y'all are all the younger ones. He was the first brother, so he never had an older brother or other sibling, besides y'all. So I was like, well, that's true. He had no blueprint in how to be a brother, whereas each one after him had some kind of blueprint because there was someone before you. And he still seems like he doesn't get the acknowledgement he deserves. Even in that conversation, I felt like no one embraced him to say, we love you, we know you great, we don't mean to overlook. I wanted them to give him more attention, but they didn't. But it's not much we can do about that. They all admit how they were homeless because they left the group home. They said how they slept in a car because they didn't have anything. And we then see Marcus saying how he's guilty of a lot of different things, putting his brother in the same situation that he was in, abandoning his brothers, misleading his brothers, just not being a good big brother. Even said how he wasn't strong enough, and he felt like he was guilty for the one brother who's dead. He felt like he's guilty for his death. And that to me was also like, wow, he's carrying around all these ghosts of his past simply because his parents weren't parents, and he ended up taking on that parent role. And then because his older brother was mentally challenged, and he really feels like he's the reason they're all in whatever situations, and it's not true. It's honestly his parents' situation. So we see Iyanla, she has him stand up and everything, and she's helping him breathe through admitting all of this. And she had him on her back, and she was just kind of supporting him, standing there. And I like how his brothers got up. Melvin got up, and Mikhail got up, and basically held him, held him up the same way and let him get his frustrations out. He says how he felt like he doesn't try, how he doesn't care. He has anger and rage towards his father because his father wasn't there. We see Michael Sr., who's sitting there, and he tried to get up. And when he tried to get up, Iyanla like, where you going? And like made him sit back down. I think she did that because she thought he was leaving. I was hoping he was getting up to go hug his son. So I wish she would have let him do whatever he was going to do. And if he tried to leave, then say something. So I do wish that she would have gave him that extra moment to see what he was going to do. The next thing we do see is he do go hug his son, and because he's crying, so he's sitting there, he crying because he hears the pain in his son's voice, and he's crying, so he's upset. Even when he goes to Marcus, and he's hugging Marcus, and he's like, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? And Marcus says, I just want real love, and he's bawling, crying. Mike was bawling, crying. No, I'm like, Michael Sr.'s bawling, crying. Marcus is crying. You see, everybody is crying because it's this. And for me, I didn't cry. But when he said, "All I want is real love," and they're hugging, and I felt like that's probably really the first real hug they have had. I'm pretty sure for Marcus, his father embracing him, his father hugging him, his father showing him love was something he's waited for his whole life. I'm pretty sure that was just a big weight off his shoulders. Not all of the weight, it wasn't all of it, but I'm pretty sure he released some kind of tension, in his shoulders. Something came out of that, because if you talk to any person who did not have their parent in their life, sometimes actually all I wanted was real love. So to get a real hug from his father, I'm pretty sure it had to be just a tremendously a relief moment. You know what I'm saying? Like a moment he's been waiting for. So we see that's cool. Now we bring in the mother. Okay, the mother, her name is, I didn't write her name down. No, they bring up the mother. My fault. They bring up the mother, and the brothers admit how they don't know where their mother was back then. That she was just gone, because of course they were so young. Michael Sr. says, she was in rehab, and that's what her mother told me, that she was in rehab. And Iyanla said something that made perfect freaking sense. She said, how is it that you continue to sleep with a woman who kept abandoning her children? Once she abandoned the first 1 or 2, how did y'all end up at 7? Like, how is that even possible? And the thing about it is, the mother really has 8 children. She has 7 boys and 1 girl. So she abandoned all 8 of her children. And the oldest daughter, who we'll see in a minute, is not Michael Sr.'s child. But she made point, like, she abandoned all 7 of your child. When she abandoned the first 3, how you get 4 more? And when he kept on acting like, oh, I don't know, she was in and out of rehab, but you kept sleeping with her and getting her pregnant. And then y'all just kept having babies and kept abandoning the babies until at the end of the day, they all was abandoned. Each and every one of them. So he never really had an answer for that, because he knew it was sex. He was, and the thing about that is too, 30-something years ago, that was the crack epidemic. And we all know the crack epidemic destroyed millions of families, thousands, millions of whatever, just tons and tons and tons of people. It took mothers and fathers from their children. It broke up homes. And I feel like no one understood crack back then. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when it first came out, basically. So, but that still doesn't negate the fact that Michael Sr., who was supposedly the sober one of the 2, even though he had his own drugs, he was more responsible, I guess, because he had custody of the kids. You kept fucking that lady and kept letting her get pregnant. You kept letting her have kids. Not only him, the freaking state of whatever state y'all, the doctors, whoever. No one took her off. Look, tie her tubes. Okay, take them out, cut them. Put some laminates on them. Don't just put some little clip. Leave it be. But they ended up with these 7 children. So we do see the mom. The mom name is LaRonda, and she said how she got married at 22, and she got pregnant 6 months later, and then she ended up having a baby each year. Because again, all their ages is like one after one. They all like 1 or maybe 2 years apart. They call them staircase babies. This is stairway babies, because one after the other, up. So it's like, well, how did y'all end up having 7 children? And she says, well, Michael Sr. mother had 7, and he said that he wanted to have 7, so I gave him 7 children. And she talked, and she looked like she's still battling her addiction. Let's be honest. She looked like she was a little bit high, not a lot bit high, not maybe crack high, but she was probably weed high. And that's funny in my head. So Iyanla just asked her, like, how do you leave all 7 of your children? And when I say she gave you the most real, smoking crack, baby, I say, now that is some real shit for your ass. Because if you think about it, a lot of people in the 70s and 80s who was having these babies, they were, because they was smoking crack. Like, crack really came through like a motherfucking tornado and just laid waste to shit. And I like how she was able to admit it. Why did she didn't say, oh, I just didn't know what I was doing? She said, I was smoking crack. Hey, I don't like to say that's an excuse, but if anyone who says in the 80s, this is what happened, I was smoking crack, I can 50% understand the devastation in their life, because no one understood crack in the beginning. Now, you was a crackhead after the fact, and you saw what it did, you still smoke crack, and you was stupid. Like, anyone who becomes a crackhead like now, you stupid. So Iyanla was talking to her. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, you weren't there for this, you weren't there for that, the kids went through this, the kids went through that. So she's rehashing all the things the kids had told her they went through because their mother wasn't there, and just saying how they needed you. What she said, so what you want me to do now, honey, miss? She cut her off so quick, like, look, because I think it was a thing of, I don't need you to sit up here and rehash what my kids been through, because I'm aware of that, but what you want me to do now? I'm like, okay. She wasn't for it, and she didn't do it rudely. She honestly did, but I still caught the reason she did it. And she's like, well, you know what, you're gonna have to sit here and hear what they have to say. But she agrees that she needs to work on her relationship with her children. That I love, was that she realized that she did fuck up, but she's like, we ain't finna sit up here and rehash it all. We just need to move past and do what we gonna do. So they then bring in her daughter. The daughter's name is Kizzy. Of course, when she said Kizzy, I thought of Ruse. I'm like, okay, the grandma must have named her Kizzy. Don't nobody name her Kizzy. Come on, Kizzy. That's from the movie Roots. If you have not seen it, I need you to go watch it. Kizzy is 38, so she's technically the oldest child, meaning she had the daughter before she had all the sons. And the daughter was taken care of by her mother. So the daughter has lived with her grandmother her whole life. And, she said she felt like her mom did not love her. Her mom did not like her because she wasn't around. Her mother did say how she tried to reach out to her to have a mother-daughter bond. But I'm like, you can't do that in your 30s. Iyanla's like, you people build bonds with their parents when they between the ages of 3 and 7. Something like that. Or 3. I would say 3 and 10. It's when you build that bond. And she wasn't there. Like, you can't come to me at 30 and say, hey, I think we should have a close relationship. Bitch, I don't know you. You ain't been around me. We can try to say hello. You know what I'm saying? And Kizzy felt like her mother was more there for her brothers, but she kept on the boys. So they don't even say siblings, the boys, more than her, because she felt like whenever she said, because you left and you didn't come back, you never came back for me, you would leave and go back to my brothers, and you wouldn't come back to me. So I think when her mom was on these crack binges, she would be gone, or when she was gone whenever, Kizzy assumed she left me to go be with my brothers, and that was what Kizzy thought. Now Iyanla kind of cut her off and said, well, that ain't true, because she wasn't really with them. I wanted Iyanla to kind of hush up a little bit, just to let Kizzy get out her point of view of her reality, because my thing is, everyone has their own recollection of what happened. So let her get out what she thought was going on, because all she knew was her mama wasn't there, and her mama was with her. She assumed, well, she ain't here, she must be with my brothers. That's probably what she had. And she did say, well, she might not have been in the house with them. Like, she might not have lived in the same house with them, but she was still in the same city as them. So for me, they were able to see her. I wasn't even able to see her or whatever. You know, Iyanla then brings in Marcus so that Marcus can explain she wasn't with them either. So Marcus says she wasn't with us either. You know, we was in foster care, we was in this, we was in that. But y'all was still seeing her. And, you know, she then says, I always felt like y'all had an issue with me because I was with my grandmama and I had stuff and y'all didn't. And he said, well, we felt, you know, so they both admit how they both felt some kind of way. The brothers felt some kind of way about the sister and the sister felt some kind of way about the brothers. But they both are now, because he then said, we thought that when she wasn't with us, she was with you. So they're all understanding she wasn't there for any of them. And all this time they thought that she cared more about one over the other. And it wasn't true. She didn't give a fuck about nobody. She honestly didn't. And, you know, Kizzy kind of was giving her point of view. And Mark was saying how, you know, this is how we felt. And then Marcus said something to me that was kind of weird. Because she said, you know, why didn't you reach out to us? Talking to the sister Kizzy. You know, you could have reached out to us and had a relationship with us. And she's like, I was a kid too. I couldn't do that. He like, no, you was like 16. 16 ain't grown. I think Marcus has this thing where he wished someone would have reached out to them. And he kind of puts that blame on everybody except the parents. Because my thing is, if Kizzy was an abandoned child too, you can't blame her because she didn't know how to reach out to her siblings. You know what I'm saying? Because for her, y'all were strangers too. And that's a whole different thing too. And, you know, I think like they kind of beefing with each other for something that is definitely the parents' fault. And, you know, so we have to wait till the next episode to see kind of all the interaction between the other brothers, the mama. It's a whole plethora of shit. But, you know, that was my recap of it. I like how they are literally making progress. I like how this story was not a one-parter. I feel like it does need 3 parts. And I feel like she's fixing shit because she's getting stuff out in the air. And my thing is, if nothing else, if they know the real blame in person is the parents and not each sibling, I think that alone can help the bond of the siblings. And it can also help the parents realize you fucked up all your children. So that is all for this particular review. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay's Corner. Peace.